John Kasich is expected to suspend his campaign to be the Republican candidate for the U.S. presidential election. Billionaire Donald Trump now gets a clear run for the party's candidacy after his win in Tuesday's Indiana primary, so his key rival Ted Cruz bow out. Let's go live now to Washington and our correspondent Caleb Maupin for more on this. Caleb, we're expecting John Kasich to speak later today from his home state of Ohio. I believe it's at 5 p.m. Eastern time, so that's in just over an hour and a half. Was his departure from the race at this stage a surprise?
Not really. At this point, with Indiana voters going to the polls, it's pretty clear that the presidential candidate Donald Trump has secured the majority of the delegates and is now the presumptive nominee for the Republican Party in the presidential election. We heard Cruz drop out shortly after the Indiana results were in, and now we hear that Kasich will be dropping out in the next few hours. So as of now, Trump, presidential candidate Donald Trump, is the presumptive nominee, according to the Republican National Committee. Let's take a listen.
Going to win big league.
So now that Donald Trump has secured, or seems to have presumptively secured, the Republican nomination in the lead up to the July convention, people are getting on social media to talk about it. We see people tweeting, saying things like, "No, not Trump. Yeah, you had a year to stop Trump and failed. Trump or Hillary is a mad choice, both awful. Looking at third-party options. Let's unite behind Trump." Let's be clear that this was very unexpected. When presidential candidate Donald Trump announced he was running for president, his announcement was met with almost mockery. The idea of Donald Trump being the president of the United States was not taken seriously. But as the year progressed, it looks as if Trump is almost, it seems to some people that Trump is almost unstoppable. He has now secured the majority of the delegates in the lead up to the Republican National Convention. So at this point, we are hearing even more of the outrage against him and the opposition to Donald Trump from figures within the political establishment. Let's hear what they had to say.
Stop Donald Trump.
Stop Mr. Trump.
Stop Donald Trump in Florida.
If you're Donald Trump, why would a KKK, white supremacist guy, want people to vote for you? That's the question that Donald Trump needs to be asked.
Do you think you're being unfavorably compared to Donald Trump?
Don't get me wrong, Conan. I agree with a lot he says, a lot.
He's the only man who could inherit millions of dollars, have his name on buildings, and still go, "Life is totally unfair."
Now that Trump is the presumptive nominee for the Republican nomination for President of the United States, that doesn't mean that he's liked everywhere now. He faces a lot of opposition even within his own party. Many people are very opposed to Trump, and we've seen a lot of violence and protests in reaction to his appearances around the country. So he's facing a lot of opposition. Now, the Republican National Convention is approaching, but as of now, it looks as if Donald Trump has secured the Republican nomination for the presidency of the United States. He is the presumptive nominee, despite all of the opposition and almost disbelief that was voiced about his candidacy.
Yeah, the build-up to that GOP meeting in July is going to be an interesting one, isn't it, Caleb? We were speaking to Caleb Maupin there from Washington. Thank you very much for that. Let's just continue with this story, because an online smear campaign is gaining momentum now that Trump appears to have all but clinched the Republican nomination. Some even think he's killed off the party by encouraging many to leave its ranks. And the campaign is being used in a less than flattering way too. Take a look.
America great again. We are going to make America great again.
I want to win because I know how great our country can be.
In Trump's case, the more you try to kill him,
he grows exponentially. He could rob a bank on television and say, I'm Donald Trump. I'm robbing this bank. And they would applaud. Way to go. Plain speaker. That's our guy. He defies all rules. The Republican elite, the established Republican Party, the party of Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon and George Bush, cannot believe this.